Let's talk about Candace Owens. Right now, she is kind of the it girly on the right. I mean, even before the Charlie Kirk assassination and she started her somewhat grief filled, somewhat greed filled warpath that she has been on ever since Charlie was killed, she was still the it girl. I mean, she was getting like 1 million views per episode at the very least, and I'm not familiar with any other girlies on the right that are doing it like her. I don't know what Megan Kelly is pulling in, but Tommy Loren definitely not doing it, and I can't even think of anybody else, to be honest with you. They're out there. Laura Loomer isn't like a content creator in that regard, so it's kind of hard to gauge her real pull, but she does obviously have pull with the administration, which Candace does not have. But Candace has the population, unfortunately. That's what this video is about, actually. Y'all gotta stop giving Candace Owens so much clout. And I do mean even people on the left who have been really getting kind of swept up in this whole Charlie Kirk assassination conspiracy that Candace has going on. Obviously, everybody has been looking at the Charlie Kirk assassination, and we all think that the whole thing smells a little fishy for various different reasons. People have their takes on this. Candace did go ahead and lay out what she thinks happened. I don't agree with her. I don't think it's that deep. To date, this is her most recent opinion of the Charlie Kirk assassination.
You that I maintain, I actually believe that this was a military hit that involved foreign actors and also literal actors. I believe that that day ran something akin to JFK's assassination. I believe that there were therefore multiple decoys on the ground. I do not believe, just so I'm clear here, that the person who was walking up the stairs killed Charlie. In fact, my suspicion is that that photo was not even shot on the same day. I do not believe that the person who ran across Losey rooftop killed Charlie. I think that was another decoy. I do not believe that shot came from a Losey Center at all. And we all know that decoy George Zinn didn't kill Charlie. And I received an interesting tip about him as well, that he's much more connected than what meets the surface. That he potentially has connections to the federal department, familial connections to the federal department, and we are prodding that. It's getting interesting. Anyway, that would suggest that there are thus a total of 4 decoys, like George Zinn, staircase guy, maroon shirt guy, and Losey Center guy, none of which I believe actually pulled the trigger. Call it a hunch. I think it's much more likely that Lance Twiggs is the one that is walking in that maroon shirt. His build is nothing like Tyler Robinson's build. Lance Twiggs is thinner. And obviously I'm speculating here, but I believe Tyler Robinson was involved, and he was in fact driving around campus on that day, therefore assisting in the costume changes, likely picking up clothing. And as we broke the story, Tyler was seen at Dairy Queen. And what was he seen doing, as I told you? Dumping clothing in the cemetery beside that Dairy Queen. So I think that is what his involvement is limited to. That was his job, to get rid of clothing.
Yeah, so I don't think it was a international, multinational government conspiracy. I don't know what the fuck happened, but I don't think it was that. Now let's talk about the problem with Candace Owens. When Candace Owens doesn't sound like an absolute mad woman who has you looking for the nearest exit, she does actually kind of make a little bit of sense. She says things that at least line up with the vibes that people have, you know, like she's very anti-Israel, she's very anti-Netanyahu, And for some normies who just don't like Netanyahu or have a bad taste in their mouth because of them, all they really need is a few little comments here about how bad Netanyahu is, and they don't really realize that Candace Owens is pretty anti Semitic, and that's why she doesn't like Israel and Netanyahu. It has nothing to do with the genocide, even though she may act like she cares about that. The real take is she's just anti Semitic, right? For example, today she said that Charlie Kirk came to her in a dream and told her that he was betrayed. That's pretty nutty. You know, I'm gonna be honest. I'm not saying that you can't have dreams or even premonitions. You know, I'm not someone who completely writes off that aspect of things necessarily. But I don't think you having a dream where Charlie Kirk comes to you and says he was betrayed means that Charlie Kirk is coming to you in the dream and telling you he's betrayed. You are probably just having a dream where that happened, you know? It's probably not some message from Charlie from beyond the grave. So, I don't know. I really don't know. I'm very concerned about where all of this is headed because, again, Candace has this way of making herself sound somewhat credible, somewhat legitimate. And even people who are more to the left or even just, you know, apolitical, they can get sucked into that because she says the right things sometimes and sometimes is enough. Candace Owens is just an awful person. I mean, she's transphobic, demonstrated by not just her beef with Macron's wife, who she has decided is trans and has decided to use that as an attack against her, instead of the fact that she's, you know, a pedophile. Like, talk about the age gap in their relationship. Talk about the actual problem with how they got together. Focus on the reality, Candace. There's enough there. That would be my angle of attack if I was going after Macron's wife. And also, in her constant analysis of the Charlie Kirk assassination, she keeps coming back to the trans partner of Tyler Robinson. She's so off her rocker, dude. I cannot stress enough how insane Candace Owens is. It doesn't really help with the way that some people at Turning Point USA or people in the pro-Israel environment have been moving and reacting in the wake of Charlie Kirk's death. They're making themselves appear uncharitable and a little sketchy, and that makes Candace Owens have even more legitimacy. And I can't stress how dangerous this is. This woman should not be given any legitimacy because she is insane. Candace Owens has made a career being the token black woman, right? The one who will sit on the right and say that stuff is not racist or do whatever they need from her.
So first and foremost, I reject the premise. I don't believe that police brutality is an issue. I think that people are believing it's an issue because the media focuses on it. This is something that I speak about obviously all the time because they particularly use it to try to persuade black Americans into believing that we're somehow targeted by police officers, which couldn't be further from the truth. I'm much more concerned about black on black crime. You know, 90% of homicides being committed by black men, or 60 to 70 being black men being shot and killed on the south side of Chicago. Police officers have a right to defend themselves. Police officers are 18 and a half times more likely to be shot and killed by a black man than the other way around. So I'm telling you that I disagree with your premise. So I can't answer your question if I reject your premise. So the idea that this is an issue in America is wrong. You know, you have a higher chance of being struck by lightning than you do of being shot and killed unarmed by a police officer in this country.
Obviously, that has its limits, but for the most part, she doesn't have a problem saying and doing what needs to be done to get ahead, to get her money. Which is why I say that she is also milking this Charlie Kirk stuff just a little bit. I do think that she is, however, one of the only people to be genuinely grieving Charlie Kirk, which is fascinating. His wife is probably the other person, but Candace is the only content creator friend of his that seems to be having a genuine grief response, and I do think that is where some of this is coming from. I do think this is just a hard situation for her to process. I can't imagine what it would be like if I actually cared about Charlie Kirk and thought he was a decent person and have to watch the video of it, likely. That would be pretty devastating. I have to imagine that Candace Owens is having a very hard time dealing with that. I don't know how she feels about therapy, but given how people on the right tend to feel about therapy, I don't know if she's going. So maybe this could all be solved by a few months in therapy, but I don't think that's going to happen, unfortunately. And instead, we're going to have to watch Candace process her grief in real time through this very long, conspiracy laden odyssey that she has embarked on. But I did just want to talk about this a little bit because, again, I've been seeing too many people give Candace Owens legitimacy, the benefit of the doubt, whatever, I don't know. Just understand that even the things she's putting forward don't support what she thinks happened. So please keep that in mind. That this is the person we are dealing with. That is really all I have to say on this. I don't want to go on anymore because this was crazy. This is crazy. The more I go down the Candace Owens rabbit hole, the less I feel like I'm going to come out of it alive. And so I need to stop. I need to put an end to this journey, and hopefully, as things go on, as the weeks go on, we can start to put this situation to bed a little bit, and Candace can get back to doing whatever usual content she was doing. She can get back to going after Macron's wife, and she can do all of that. But until then, we're stuck with the Charlie Kirk saga, and people are really buying into it a little bit, and I don't like that. I'm worried. There's too many of y'all out there who are like, maybe this woman is making some points. She's not. You're getting fooled. Don't be fooled by Candace Owens. You will regret it. Okay, that's all I have to say on this, and just use your brains. Let's use our brains, people. Use our brains. Our brains are good. Use them. Candace doesn't use hers, but we should use ours, okay? Okay, awesome, great, fantastic. Can't wait. That's all I have for you, so thank you so much for watching. I do appreciate you making it this far, and if you guys could give the video a like for me, leave a comment, let me know what you think, or what your thoughts are on this whole thing with Candace Owens. I, again, grief is a powerful thing. Powerful thing. And so is greed. And that is where we are at. Awesome. Hit that subscribe button for me because I'll try to make sense of it all for you as best I can. And I think it should be telling that couldn't make much sense of this. That's all I got. I'm gonna wrap this up. I do gotta get going. Anyway, thank you. I appreciate you. Take care of yourself. Like, comment, subscribe, all that stuff. Free Palestine, and goodbye.